Welcome to the Calligraphy Masters podcast. My name is Milenis, and this is a show where I talk with some of the most inspiring and influential artists in the world of calligraphy, lettering, and sign painting with the goal of exploring their mindset and understand how they became successful. Welcome back to another episode of Calligraphy Masters podcast. And today we have another super special guest. This is Ivan Castro. Ivan is correct. Ivan is correct because in Bulgaria we say Ivan, or I don't know. Ivan is good.
Ivan. Yeah. Ivan is fine. Yeah.
So welcome to the podcast, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you. And you?
I'm great. It's a bit too hot today. Like I was out and it's too hot, but I'm here. It's cool and it's fun.
Yeah. Here in Spain, here is still fine. I mean, like about 20 degrees, which is ideal. But I think that, in a few weeks it will be kind of unbearable as well. Yeah.
I know.
Southern Europe style. Yeah.
Well, summer here gets like 40, 45, so.
Not bad. Yeah.
Not bad, for sure. So first of all, I love your mustache, man. I'm a huge fan of mustaches. I really like this. Super cool. I also like your background. This is super nice, man.
This is the studio I got at home because I set up this studio about 1 year ago or something, and I had some prints and some stuff, and finally got a place to put them all together. So yeah, there is no room for anything else. So yeah, I know.
Is it all your works?
No. Actually, there is almost nothing that I have done. I mean, I gilded this one, but it was it's a reproduction of a vintage graphics. But yeah, this is a skateboard. Oh, you almost cannot see this one. I got a skateboard pinstripe by a friend of mine. This is from the Sanborn map company. It used to be a map company in the United States from the Victorian era that was completely amazing. The graphics were amazing. And my pal Adrian, el de letrista, vectorized it, screen printed, and I gilded. This was done by Golden West graphic sign painting, which is Derek McDonald. I did that with Adrian as well. This is some old type, a poster by El Marquez, an illustrator from Barcelona. Some letterpress poster. I don't like too much to see my work around. I prefer have stuff from other people because it kind of inspires me much better than my own things.
I know I have nothing of mine as well here, but But I mean your work is great, man. So let's start the podcast, man. Like, can you tell us a bit more about yourself? Like, how old are you? Where are you from? And what's your childhood been like? How or at what point did you met with letters and how everything started?
Cool. Yeah. Well. Yeah. I'm Ivan Castro. I was born and raised in Barcelona, and I actually live in Barcelona. Not exactly in Barcelona. I live in a town near Barcelona, but very, very close to the center of the city. I am 44 years old.
Oh.
And I have been doing calligraphy for more than 20 years. About my childhood. Yeah, actually my relationship with letters come from when I was a kid. I learned to read at a very young age, about 3. And it was because I was looking at the signs on the streets. I was walking with my mom down the street, and it was like bakery, dentist, bookshop, and my mom was like, "What the fuck, are you reading signs?" And I was like, "I guess so." And that was because I was looking at the letter forms.
Okay.
So I also liked comic books when I was a kid, as any other kid, I guess. But I kind of put more attention to the titles of the comic books down to the illustrations. And I used to draw Gothic letters when I was 8 years old because I liked the look of it. And I was kind of a weird kid. But it wasn't until I went to study graphic design that I took a calligraphy class with Keith Adams, and that completely changed the game. That was the kickstarter of my career.
How old were you at that point?
About 20 years old.
20 years old, okay.
Yeah, actually, I wasn't studying graphic design at that point, but industrial design. Furniture and appliances and all. But I looked at the same school what the graphic design students were doing, and I was like, fuck, I should have taken graphic design instead of industrial. And I could take the calligraphy class, and I took that, and it's like, okay, definitely I want to do that for the rest of my life. And when I finished industrial design, then I started to study graphic design. And well, I started working in studios and agencies and doing, logotypes and brochures and magazines and posters and all that a graphic designer does. But every time that I could, I took some calligraphy and lettering into my projects. And it was fine. I was a graphic designer that knew how to use calligraphy and lettering. But it got to a point in 2010 when the recession hit very, very hard here in Spain. And almost all the graphic design studios in Barcelona were like closing, firing people, and I got unemployed. So I thought, okay, I don't think I'm gonna find easily a job in a graphic design studio now. So I better think of another move. So I thought about going freelance. I mean, I have been already freelancing a bit with calligraphy and lettering. So I went full time with that. And it was 2010, and that was a very good moment for calligraphy and lettering because it kind of boomed, and suddenly lettering was really, really popular into graphic communication. And I had been doing that for a while already. So that put me in a nice position to get jobs and all.
When you got this first workshop, what script was this workshop about?
Yeah, actually, it wasn't a workshop. I mean, it was a 1 year long class. So basically, I had a formal training in calligraphy from Carolingian, Italic, Roman capitals, uncials, Gothic. I mean,
everything.
The whole spectrum, yeah. The whole story of the Latin alphabet. So that with my teacher Keith, that was very, very interesting because I not only learned technically how to do calligraphy, since it was so extensive, I learned a lot about the logics behind calligraphy. And if you think how to apply that to lettering or type design, it is very important to understand the tools and the history and the evolution of letters. So it was that I not only learned how to do calligraphy, I also learned the logics behind the letter forms.
Okay, and like for this 1 year, like were you going like every day or like was it a weekly? Like I never heard somebody doing a 1 year thing. I'm just many questions.
It was a weekly class. I mean, every week I had a 3 hours class, and then I had homework and bigger projects for the next week or for the end of the term, and it was pretty immersive. Yeah.
Okay, and from all these scripts styles that you are learning, can you tell me which was the easiest for you to learn and which was the most difficult?
I think that the easiest was the Carolingian.
Okay.
Because it wasn't, well, we did historic Carolingian as well, but we started with actually it was the foundational by Edward Johnston, and this is like very clean and very it's a very neutral script.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I teach, I like to teach that script because it's kind of modular with very clean shapes. So I think it's a very good way to start doing calligraphy.
This is if I'm not wrong, this is the forefather of Textura Quadrata, right?
Kind of, yeah.
I mean,
kind of.
Textura Quadrata came from it or not?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, Textura Quadrata actually is, it's a evolution of the Carolingian, but Carolingian is very round shaped, and Textura Quadrata is more angular,
mm-hmm.
but and narrower, but the ductus is very similar. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is kind of the easiest script, and the most difficult were certain historical scripts like Spanish Visigothic or something like that. You know, stuff I haven't done again since I was a student because I don't know how to use them. I'm not feeling very. Yeah, I don't feel very attracted to them. Don't misunderstand me. I think that it's important to study historic scripts.
Yes.
But that is because studying historical scripts make you understand better the contemporary letter forms.
Mm-hmm.
But not as an end on itself. I mean, copying a medieval manuscript, is that a good idea? I think that it's a good idea as an exercise, as a training. But you know, doing a facsimile of a medieval manuscript is not something that I think that it's a good job on its own. You know, it's
mm-hmm.
cool as an exercise, but not, hey, I'm gonna copy that. Okay.
So Roman capitals was not the hardest. Usually people tell me they have the biggest issues.
Yeah. But the thing is that I took Roman capitals a bit later.
Okay.
And it's still very challenging to do Roman capitals because with Roman capitals you have to master on one side the structure of the letter, and on the other side how the tool work. And the structure of the Roman capitals is very clean and very geometrical, the structure itself. So that means that the minimum mistake, anyone is gonna notice it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are another scripts that are, you know, more fireworks, and you might fuck it up with the spacing or the structure, but yeah, you know, it'll be fine. But with Roman capitals, you have nothing to hide behind. So any little mistake with the structure or with the spacing, and it's gonna flash.
Yeah.
But on the other side, you got the pressure, the twisting of the brush, and yeah, it's kind of humbling and humiliating actually.
Okay, and after this freelancing stuff, like how did everything go? Like you mentioned earlier that you teach also. Like at what point did you start teaching, and was it something you decided, okay, now I'm gonna teach, or was it like people started asking you to teach them?
Actually, I started teaching even before going freelance.
Okay.
I have been teaching since 2004. Someone invited me, someone that knew that I was doing calligraphy and that I was okay doing calligraphy, invited me to give a workshop at a school in Barcelona, which is BAU. It's one of the main graphic design schools in Barcelona. And it was a kind of short workshops, like 6 weeks, every Monday. Yeah, well, because it's 6 classes. It's
okay.
Yeah. I mean, now it's very common to have a weekend workshop or a 4-hour workshop, but you know, 20 years ago it wasn't. There was not that workshop culture we have right now.
But
At that same year, my teacher, Keith Adams, and my partner, Uriol Miró, they were teaching at Elisava, another design school in Barcelona, and they needed another teacher for a couple of groups they could not help, you know? So they asked me to join the team, and I, you know, with 25 years old, I was teaching graphic design. I was teaching calligraphy at the graphic design degree.
Okay.
And I did that for a while, but it got to a point that, you know, teaching calligraphy to graphic design students, I mean, they may be interested or they may be not interested. So it's exhausting when you have a class of 20 people and only 4 are paying attention and doing the homework. So I finally quit. It's like it was like, you know, I got better stuff to do. So I am more focused on, that format, short workshops or longer workshops, but for people that actually want to do that.
When you mentioned like that, it was the way it was before, it's kind of true, but at the same time, I think it is the better way to teach calligraphy, because, you know, today's workshop, of course you learn some stuff, but it's not the same, you know.
No, short workshops are perfect to learn one particular script or one technique, and that is fine. Or if you're teaching yourself, because you can be autodidactic and you can teach yourself, and sometimes you want to have contact with real people and with a teacher, and you want to know other people that does calligraphy. So you know, a short workshop is fine, but yeah, a long class is a better way to learn calligraphy. Uriol Miró, which I have already mentioned, with other teachers like Joan Quirós or Gina Serret, or Laia Soler, some people from Spain. We actually have a 1-year-long course at Visions, which is a school here in Barcelona, and we manage the calligraphy area of the school. So yeah, we have a very, very extensive, I think it's like 200 hours during the whole year.
Wow. And
we do everything. I mean, everything means from Carolingian to this, because it's very important to understand calligraphy and lettering from the widest point of view, and you need a lot of time for that. Yeah.
Of course, you started with calligraphy, but I know you're doing also lettering. You're doing also sign painting. At what point in your life those things came into your life, and why? Like, how did you get interested in them? Like, because calligraphy and letter, like they are letters, but at the same time they are very different. So I'm just curious, like, at what point did you start doing lettering and sign painting? Was it at the same time, or how was it?
You know, the first thing I did was calligraphy, and from that I took graphic design. And while I was studying graphic design, I took a course on type design.
Okay.
And at that class, I learned what lettering was. I mean, I put a name to what lettering was. Of course, I knew that there was something that was drawing letters, but you know, there was calligraphy and there was type design, and somewhere in between there was something that was drawing letters, like if it was for type design, but you don't have to do the whole alphabet. You're doing a group of letters like calligraphy. So I felt very interested in that. I then discovered the works of house industries and the works from Ryan Hughes or Art Chantry. I mean, people that was closer to graphic design, but they were doing an amazing job, not only with type design, also drawing letters. And I was like, okay, I know what shapes are supposed to have the letters, and everything I've done in my life has been with a pen or a brush. Why don't try with with a pencil and building the letters instead of writing them. And then I got interested on lettering. And the other day I was checking files, and in 2006 I already did a poster, all hand lettered, and that made me feel a bit old. But yeah, at that point I was already doing lettering at certain, I could print a poster, a real thing,
Mm-hmm.
And about sign painting, I was just curious at it. I am not a sign painter. I mean, I know how it works, and I can paint a sign if it's something simple, but a number of years ago also, there was that documentary, Sign Painters,
Mm-hmm.
and the trailer of the movie ran like powder, and I was like, oh wow, this is another thing which is not calligraphy, though it's kind of linked to calligraphy. It's not lettering, but it's kind of similar to lettering. I want to learn how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I got interested on it, and I wrote certain people from the United States that I had met online, and they gave me some tips, and I started to do it. But the thing is that the thing with sign painting is that it's a job in itself. I mean, to be a sign painter, you have to be a sign painter, and you need a workshop, and you need to be a sign painter full time, I think.
Okay.
And I already had a career as a letter artist and calligrapher, so it's like I don't have time to do sign painting full time. But I know how it works, so if someone needs once in a while some sign, I can paint it. But I leave it for others usually.
This is interesting because I've spoken with other sign painters as well, but you're the first who says it in such way, and now that you say it kind of makes sense, because I don't know if there are people who are sign painters and doing sign painting just for the fun of it.
It's not fun. I mean, painting a sign is not fun. I mean, the first one you paint, it's a pain in the ass, and the second one maybe it's a bit cleaner, but you get high with the vapes of the enamel. You stink of turpentine the whole day. Your clothes get dirty. Your home will smell like turpentine for a whole week. It's a pain in the ass to paint a sign. But if you're the kind of people that like that, you'll be fine with it. But then you have to, have a space for it. And the thing is, you gotta take it very, very seriously,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a job in itself.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of, hey, I'm a sign painter. Look at that. Look at that gold. Look how it shines. But I look like an old man. I know. But 30 years ago, being a sign painter is like, yeah, it was just a blue collar worker. Nothing fancy about it. And now it's cool, which is nice. But the origin of the trade is nothing fancy. It's just people doing their job.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you said you already were doing your money with calligraphy and lettering. Do you remember what were your first jobs or commissions, or like how were you making money out of calligraphy? Like what's the process of being a calligrapher and making it as a profession?
I remember exactly my first job. It was actually very early when I was studying with Keith Adams in that 1 year long course. Someone called to the school, and it was like, hey, I need some calligrapher. It was some advertising for TV for some, it was whatever. I don't exactly remember what was the advertising about, but the thing is that they needed someone that did some manuscripts, and they had to shot it and put it on the advertising on TV.
Mm-hmm.
And It was something very simple, done with italics in a Renaissance style, something kind of easy, but it was very intense because it was advertising, and the rhythm with advertising is always very intense. I got paid the equivalent, because it was before the euro. I was paid about 300 euro for a job that now it would cost like 2,000 maybe or something like that.
Wow.
But I was a rookie. It was my first job, and for me at that point it was a lot of money just for doing calligraphy. You know, it was like, hey, that can work. Yeah. So yeah, my first job, they just called the school and asked for someone, and the school sent to me because I was kind of, kind of good in the class. Yeah.
Mhm. I know, but just for the people who are like listening and they may be considering if they should do calligraphy, like what are the jobs, like what kinds of jobs or commissions do you get like as a calligrapher and lettering artist?
Yeah, I can tell you my last project. Yesterday I released a calligraphy job, which was, I cannot talk too much about it, but there is a video game which is released during that month, and they're gonna send a press kit to bloggers and influencers, and into that, inside that press kit there is a letter. Like if someone sends a letter to someone else, and that letter is supposed to be manuscript, and it was a letter in a style of the 18th century. That is a simple job that I have to do quick, but it was nice because it was calligraphy. It's seldom I got calligraphy commissions because it's most lettering what I am commissioned.
Okay.
What else I have done recently? This is still not published, but it's fine. I think it's okay if I talk about it. I designed a typeface for my city. I mean, it's a big thing for me.
That's a cool thing.
I live in a small city. I'm from the city, from the city council. They called and they said that they wanted to have a typeface for the council for public uses. And I worked with an agency through a year, and I set up that program that I will show very soon. I mean, it's still not released.
So it's like a year of work to make this typeface?
Yeah, because there is some back and forths, and it depended that typeface depended of bigger body of work that has to do with strategy and branding and other kind of things. So I got it stopped for a while and then continue. So if I was on my own, maybe in 3-4 months I could have done that project. But it took a bit longer because I had to work with another people doing another stuff. Mm-hmm. What else I have done? I have done recently also a campaign for TMB. TMB is the public transportation company in Barcelona. So they are going to launch. Maybe someone is calling my door soon because I am supposed not to talk about this, but now no one's listening now.
I mean, people who are listening, it's people from calligraphers and stuff like this. So.
No, but at the transportation company, the public transportation company, they are launching some sort of post-pandemic campaign.
Okay.
To make people love the city again and start to travel again with public transportation, to live their lives as if nothing happened. And part of that is calligraphy is very big in that campaign.
Okay, that sounds cool.
What else I have done recently? Yeah.
You can tell me like two kinds of projects that you've done. One that is your most favorite commission or project that you worked, and one that was the most challenging?
I think that working for advertising is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I like that because every project is very different from the other.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to work with an art director that knows what they want. And I focused with solving that problem. So I am very comfortable with when I work with a good art director that tell me exactly what they've done. Sometimes that goes a bit against my freedom as an artist, but sometimes I got certain freedom, and it's fine. So yeah, I kind of like working with advertising. I must say that usually advertising are kind of conservative because it's usually big brands.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's very cool. Projects I hate, it's not about the type of project. It's more about the type of client, probably.
Okay.
Because, yeah, on one side you have an art director that knows exactly what they want. On the other side, you may have a private client. For example, someone that runs a small business and needs a logotype, but they don't know exactly what they want. But they tell you, oh, you have total freedom, you can do whatever you want. And usually that means I can do whatever I want, always that it matches what they have in mind, which is something they can't explain. You know, there are certain type of client that I try to avoid. I mean, when I see certain insecurities, it's like, oh, there's gonna be a lot of work with that, which is not exactly about drawing letters. And yeah, it's not about the type of project, it's about the type of client. I prefer clients that have a very clear idea of what they want and try to avoid people which actually they're gonna waste my time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it gets to a point where, you know, creativity is a bit overrated because it could be interesting. Like, hey, it's like a open field. Like you can do whatever you want, and it's an interesting moment to experiment. But that is nice at the beginning of the project. But when they reject systematically what you do, then what you want is finishing the project and get the money and run from that client, you know?
Yeah. So what was the most exciting or your most favorite project that you've worked on?
That typeface I have designed for the city is quite exciting because it's something that it's gonna be all around my house.
I mean, it sounds pretty cool to make a...
Yeah, it is. But what I'm more excited, you know, what I'm more excited about it is that people is gonna use it.
Yeah.
And it's not me. It's not that I am gonna use a typeface. Maybe they commission something and I got to use the typeface I have designed. But you know, some other graphic design studio or someone in the city council needs to, you know, to design something to put on Instagram, and they use a typeface, and they can use it brilliantly, or they can do something that is completely unexpected. So I'm very curious to see what's gonna happen with that typeface.
Yeah.
And another more specific thing, like 6-7 years ago, I designed a brand for a vermouth.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to design the logotype and also some graphics for the bottle of vermouth. And that brand is really, really cool. It's called El Barra. I will send you links or something later if you want.
Yeah, sure.
And everything they do with the logotype or the graphics I design is super cool. It's super cool, and it's still alive, and they keep doing some stuff. For example, the last big thing they did is that they bought a fire truck.
Okay.
And they painted red with the logotype like super huge in the fire truck. and they fill the fire truck with vermouth, and they go to events, serving vermouth to people, and it's super cool because they do very cool things with that brand. Also, for some personal reasons, I really like that project. But yeah, also my book, a number of for people that doesn't know about it.
No. We'll speak about the book in a bit.
Okay.
It's on the
I read a book once in a while, and I was very happy. I'm still very happy about it.
Yeah.
Next.
I will definitely talk about it. I just before we finish this theme. So does this mean that usually your clients find you, or you work with an agency to get your jobs?
Both.
Both.
Yeah.
Okay.
I work with an agency, which is the Mushroom Company. It's one of the main agencies here in Spain.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the work is because people find me. Yeah.
I see. And another question before we jump to your book, I'm curious. Besides Keith Adams, have you attended any other people's workshops or classes or something like this?
I have, but I cannot remember anyone that was like, this is super revealing. I mean, I have attended some classes that, as I told you, a 2 years workshop that did you one specific thing, but the huge body of learning I got was at that first year with yeah.
Okay, fair enough. And then
for example, talking about the techniques, I already mentioned Oriol Miró a couple of times, which is I teach with him at Visions. He's been a friend of mine since I started to teach, and he taught me to gild traditionally, and that was very interesting. Or it's another that now is a friend, which is Curro from Scriptorium Yayan, and Curro makes artisanal watercolors.
Okay.
He makes watercolors, from the ground pigments with some agglutinants is the word. I guess it's he mixes pigments with agglutinants like Arabic gum or egg whites or something like that to mix and to mix the watercolors. And I took a workshop with Curro, and from that I look at my color materials from another point of view, because you realize how proper quality pigments work very different from the lower grade ones, and that is very interesting. I mean, right now what I am more interested in is in specific techniques, like learning how to work with parchment or something like that, than with different letter forms or scripts.
Does this mean that you make your own colors, or you have some specific brand that you prefer to write with?
Yeah, actually, sometimes I make my own colors, or I got Curro ones. Curro makes amazing watercolors. Like,
he also sells it?
When he has some, he does. For example, my girlfriend gave me this for Christmas. I don't know if you get to see it.
I can see.
This is a very interesting project because Curro went to, he's from southern Spain, from a very specific area in Jaén. So he went there and took some earth from different places, and every earth had a different color. So he ground the earth and mixed it with different agglutinants, and he made watercolors out of earth. And then he put it in that. This is olive tree.
What?
And olive trees are very, very, very ubiquitous in Jaén. In that area, it's full of olive trees. So this is a piece of art. This itself is much more worth than this, I mean, this is okay, but if you know the story about behind this, it's like, okay, yeah, it's not exactly the same. So yeah, I'm much more interested in the origin of the things, being colors or inks or tools or whatever. Yeah.
But if this is a piece of art, it looks like it's never used. Are you ever gonna use it?
I I have never used it because it was this Christmas, 4 months ago that my girlfriend gave this to me, and I'm still thinking what to do with that, because it's not something that I can use it for daily practice. I want to do a specific project with that, and I'm still thinking about it. Yeah, that is the bad thing, that you cannot use your thing that kind of stuff daily.
So does this mean that you're still practicing? Like after 20 years of calligraphy, you still daily practice?
It's I mean, when you have to work every day and you have to teach very often, that dynamics take you to practice. And yeah, last year I had an exhibition here in my hometown in Samboy as well, and yeah, that forced me to do some stuff that I don't get to do while teaching or in my commercial work. So it was a very interesting period working in that exhibit, because it was all calligraphy. It was all expressive calligraphy. There was nothing about lettering or commercial work. It was only calligraphy, and it was interesting because of that. Because I got to do types of letter or techniques that I don't usually do in my commercial work or while teaching.
Okay, and is there a specific script or a class that is your favorite to teach?
Yeah, probably black letter. Yeah, probably black letter, because, well, I don't have to explain you why black letter is probably my favorite to teach, but I think that this is for my pleasure. But I think that the most important thing when you are learning calligraphy, maybe it's not black letter, we talked before about Carolingian. It's more important to learn Carolingian if you don't know shit about calligraphy. Start with Carolingian, and once you got Carolingian master, then you can go to black letter, because black letter comes from Carolingian, as we mentioned. Carolingian, italics, and Roman capitals. You don't need to do the complex serif Roman capitals. You can do simpler without serif Roman capitals, and that three writings are the ones that you have to start with. After that, I mean, anything else comes from that.
At what point came the moment or the need to make a book? And actually, I have a question. Is it only one book, or are there many books? Because I've looked online, and the ABC of lettering on Google comes different books. I don't know if it's just the color. Is it different edition or what? Talk a bit about this.
Yeah, it's in English and in Spanish.
Okay.
So yeah, I got it here. This is the original edition in English, and then I translated to Spanish.
Okay.
So yeah, in English the ABC of custom lettering, and in Spanish we simplified to El ABC del lettering.
Yeah.
Actually, it was a commission from a publisher, which is Correro Press. It's a British publisher. I had worked with them before doing some small things, but one day Jack, the publisher, called like, "Hey, I want a lettering book, lettering handbook, a didactic book about lettering." And it was like, okay, I can do that, but I was a bit worried because prior to that, Correro Press was known for doing coffee table books with a lot of illustrations and images, but not real text content. And I was like, I don't want to do a coffee table book. What I want to do is something that pushes people to draw letters, and it's very didactic and a lot of text, and I don't even need it to be in color. It's 2 inks, and I put some conditions, and he was like, "Hey, I'm fine with that. I mean, yeah, do whatever you want." And he was like, "Okay, let's do that." And I had been teaching for a while, so basically what I did is taking all I had on my head about teaching calligraphy and lettering and trying to condense it in a book.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of a big responsibility because, you know, when you're teaching and you're in a class and you can say whatever you want, and maybe one day you're not very fine and the class is a bit, but it's okay. But man, if someone is printed, it's not okay if you fuck it up. I mean, you gotta be really, really, really precise in what you got printed.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know what was going to happen with that book, but I was happy to do it. And this is from 2015, and it was a point in which there was some lettering books, but they were more like activity books, like, hey, let's copy that alphabet, you know, and they didn't go to the roots of the thing, which is actually calligraphy. Because this book is, first you learn calligraphy and to understand basic things, and then you move on to lettering. But there were no books that were set up like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a success. It was a success because it is. I think it is a good book. And at that point, there were not many good books about lettering. After that, the book by Martina Flor, The Golden Secrets of Lettering, appeared. And more recently, the lettering manual by Ken Barber appeared. And for me, those are the 3 good books about lettering. There are some other books about lettering, but those are the most complete.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so that book was big success at its point. It's still selling well. It's going by the 5th print, which is not bad for a lettering book. And the thing is that people know that if someone knows me, it's probably because I am that guy, the cover of that book. So yeah, I'm quite satisfied with it.
Who is this book for? Like, do you need to be a beginner? Do you need to be already in calligraphy, or who is this book for?
Actually, it starts from, hey, you know, this is a piece of paper, and this is a pen, and here you have some ink. So if you dip the pen in the ink and then rub it on the piece of paper, you got some letters. So it starts from here. So for beginners, especially for people that is a beginner in calligraphy, I think it is a good book because, yeah, it's about lettering, but about 40% of the book is calligraphy. So I sneaked calligraphy into the lettering book because for me it's very important. So for beginners it's cool, but for people that already has done some calligraphy and wants to improve their lettering technically, I think it's very interesting because it got to the detail of the letter forms. The book is set up like, hey, there are different letter styles. So I present you that letter style, and then we are gonna do a project with it. And when I say we are gonna do it, it's because I have already done it. So I present that project, and I put the step by step with small changes I do with a lot of attention to detail. And I think that following that journey, it's a very, very good way to learn. So it's for beginners, but it's also for more intermediate letter artists.
And is it only teaching stuff in it, or are there also works of yours?
There are some works, but they are for
examples.
Yeah, for examples about certain letter forms. For example, if I do the interlock, if I am looking at the interlock chapter, there will be a couple of there will be a spread.
I love this so much. I actually saw exactly this page when I was searching for, and I was like, how many books are there? But this one, I love this one.
Thank you. Well, the thing is that I put that, but it's not for, for flashing my job. It's because it's not about me. It's because with that you have many examples of that particular style.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so
then I published another book in 2018, which is
guys, for the ABC of custom lettering, if you're interested and you don't have it already, there will be a link in the description, so you'll be able to get it.
So I published this other book, Lettering a Tope, which was also translated to English, Lettering to the Max, and this one is more for beginners. I think that this one is easier to. I mean, it's about lettering, but it skips the calligraphy part and explain the same concepts from a more simple point of view. And at the beginning, I wasn't very sure. This was another commission from the Larousse publisher, and I wasn't very sure. Like, yeah, they want something about, for amateur people, but I don't teach for amateur people. I teach for people that want to be professionals. But it was like, hey, if I don't do it, someone else is gonna do it. So yeah, I'll do that. So at the beginning, I was a bit like, I'm not sure about the concept of that book, but step by step, I was like, hey, I can do a good book also for amateurs, and I came up with that. And I think it's a nice book as well. And here, it has color. It's not only about black and white swings. It has some images in colors and some more of my work. And you got the basic concepts of lettering and like spacing.
Yeah.
So that thing about the square and the circle and the triangle, you also got it, and different styles of letters are the variations. I don't know if you see here.
Yes.
Variations you can do with the simple structure of a letter, and I'm quite happy about it too. Yeah, this is less known because I guess that people go direct to the ABC and skip this one, but I think that this is a good book anyway.
I never knew that people can get even commission to make a book, but this is cool. So you have only 2 books so far?
Yeah.
And
I have some small things that I have self-published, but it's more. Those are the good ones. Yeah.
How much time did it take you to make each one of those books?
With the ABC, it was a bit strange because I was like, I had like a whole year, let's say, a little more than 1 year maybe. But the thing is that when I was about to start doing that book, my father got ill, and there was a period when I was more thoughtful about my dad, that eventually passed away, and I couldn't work on my book because I was focused on taking care of my father. But the time was running anyway, and I had a commitment with the publisher, and yeah, at some point I could have said, hey, my life is complicated, I need some more time. But once my dad passed away, it was like, okay, I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna meet the deadline, and I do it in about 8 months. This book, maybe.
Okay.
A very, very short time, but I only did that. I mean, I disconnected my phone, and I woke up every day at 8 o'clock and started to, because I wrote the book, also did the illustrations, also did the layout and design. So I did everything. It was like, hey, here you are the book, you can send it to print. So I did everything in that book, and it was an insane amount of work. So I only did that during 8 months. And with lettering a tope, a bit less, maybe a bit less time, because it's a shorter book. But less than a year, definitely, each book. Yeah, but I mean, that time is if you only do a book, and it's good. Sorry, it's good that I had a deadline, because if not, it's one of these things that you just no, next week I will get hands on it, and it passed 2 years and you have done nothing. So it was cool to have a deadline. Yeah.
Cool. I'm very curious, which one do you enjoy doing more, calligraphy or lettering?
It depends on the project, but
let's say it's no project, just in general.
I am a calligrapher. The first thing I did was calligraphy, and then I started to do lettering when I was a graphic designer. But this is something commercial, and for example, my personal work is usually never lettering.
Mm-hmm.
When I get some time to do personal work, I do calligraphy.
Okay.
And I guess that's quite definitory of what I like most.
I see. And
I leave lettering to commercial work, or maybe something personal but something very specific.
do you consider yourself more like a calligrapher or a calligraphy artist? Because even in the beginning you said you don't like to see your works, you don't like to watch your work, and in your Instagram, like, there is also not so much of your work. Like, you're like, do you consider yourself a calligrapher or calligraphy artist?
I think I understand what you're asking. Usually when I do calligraphy, let's start again. Usually I don't have too much time for personal work.
Okay.
So the work I do is real work, is commissions. And this usually is lettering, and sometimes it's calligraphy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's commercial work. So I solve a problem and it's my job,
Yeah.
But when I have some time, what I do is calligraphy, and usually it's with under an artistic point of view, like, working on a text and do something that I could hang. Later, I don't hang it. I just hide it on a folder, but I could hang it if I wanted to. So I don't know. I wish I could have the time to be a calligraphy artist. Yeah, but
Which one do you enjoy more, doing a commission work or doing your, like, artistic thing?
I definitely enjoy more doing my personal stuff,
Mm-hmm.
because it's more fun. It's something you have created from scratch. You are the client. In that case, I have to be the client, and I have to be very critic with what I do,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not like everything is fine. No, I am kind of very strict with what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, if I am looking for a certain specific texture or letter style, I got very obsessed with it, and I worked with that until I got it. Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't know what was exactly what I enjoy more. Yeah, definitely doing my personal stuff. But there are also some commercial work that is fun to do. But yeah, personal stuff is always fun, because if not, you don't do it.
Okay. And are you doing iPad calligraphy, or what are your thoughts on this topic? Because I guess you've seen online all these people with Procreate and...
I don't use it. Personally, I don't use it because, I don't get used to it. I mean, my wife is an illustrator, and she has an iPad Pro with Procreate, and sometimes I have used it for work.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't get used to it. And when I use it, it's more for lettering than for calligraphy.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that the most interesting results that people get with calligraphy with an iPad is when they get closer to a more organic textures, And then if what you're pursuing is an organic feel, why don't you just use a real brush and paper and watercolor? It's just that I don't get it. But there are certain type of work with a more digital look that has to be done digitally, of course. But personally, I prefer to do some more organic stuff with paper and inks and pens and unexpected stuff and accidents, you know?
I see. And have you tried doing calligraphy in VR?
Sorry?
Have you tried doing calligraphy in VR with the glasses?
Oh, no, never.
No?
No.
Well...
No. I didn't know that this could be done. I mean, I never thought of it. I have seen people like drawing with VR, but never thought of applying to calligraphy because I think I'm too old.
No, no. Like last week, I recorded an episode with Brody. I guess you know him, and he's 65, and he has his own Oculus, and he's doing well. You know, I'm not a fan of iPad calligraphy, but VR, if you can do, seriously try it, because you know we're used to do letters on 2D, and in VR you have something that we never tried. This is calligraphy in 3 dimensions, and seriously, I recommend it if you have the possibility to try it.
Well, Brody Neuenswachter is 65, but he is definitely younger than me. I mean,
what do you mean, man?
You understand what I say. And actually, the first time I saw a guy drawing in 3D with VR glasses was Glenn Keane. I don't know if you know who Glenn Keane is, but he's a classic Disney animator. He was the animator behind The Little Mermaid in 1999. So he's older, definitely older than me, and he was like drawing in VR, and it was amazing. Yeah. Yeah.
Like you said a couple of times during the podcast, I'm old. Like, do you feel old yourself?
I don't feel old physically, but let's put it that way. In the last 5-10 years, a lot of things are changing, and I am probably too lazy to adapt myself to that changes. And I am quite comfortable with what I do and don't have the need of, for example, doing calligraphy with an iPad, and I am quite comfortable thinking that, but at the same time it's like, this is probably a sign that I'm getting a bit old, but you know, it passes quickly.
Fair enough. And are you teaching only in person, or because during the pandemic and stuff like this, have you done some Zoom classes or stuff like this? In our course in Visions, I have never taught online. I have never done this. And, you know, the pandemic broke in and everything stopped. And we stopped the course. And we thought, okay, maybe this is going to take more than 2 weeks. So probably we should find a way to teach online. And then we discovered Zoom, and I put my iPhone to teach, and everything was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. But step by step, I mean, I've gone quite proficient teaching online, and I've done a few courses. For example, I think that you talked with Ricardo from Calligraphy Italia. Yeah.
I gave a workshop with him, a couple of workshops with him a while ago. Also, I did a workshop for the Society for Calligraphy in Southern California. I also participated in the Legacies 3, which is the calligraphy conference in Texas. And I have done it, and it's cool. I mean, there are certain things that are pretty cool of teaching online. I think certain things are cooler.
Okay.
Certain things work better than regular teaching in person.
Like what?
Like, for example, the attention to... I mean, I can take my camera and put it like 3 inches from my paper.
Yeah.
If you put this on screen, you have an incredible detail of what is happening with my nib.
I see. Yeah.
It is something that it's difficult to get in a physical class.
Yes. I know what you mean. Yeah, that's true, definitely.
Yeah, but then it falls apart with the one-on-one tuition. I mean, I cannot sit like 5 minutes with everyone and, hey, this is what you're doing. You maybe let me grab your pen and maybe you should do it that other way. So yeah, teaching online or teaching physically, every system has its own pros and cons. But you know, I did something recently. I had to give a workshop physically with about 40 people, which is a shitload of people. But I got invited to a college and they did like the design event of the year, and I gave a workshop and a talk, and it was quite compact, but with a lot of people. So I thought like, there is no other way I can do that in the classroom, setting up the camera and projecting. So it was a brush calligraphy workshop with brown brush, a brush penetrating workshop. Okay, so yeah, I got my camera and I was projecting on my back what I was doing, but then I could walk around and correct people their practice. So it was interesting, you know, the camera for a physical class. Yeah, it was fun.
I asked you if you do online, so maybe you can do a class with Calligraphy Masters on the Zoom in some time.
I'm up to it. Yeah, of course.
Awesome, man. That would be super cool. I have a funny one. I remember like it was something in the beginning of Calligraphy Masters. At one point, somebody sent me a video of you of some conference or I don't know, maybe workshop, and you were like dissing Calligraphy Masters, or you didn't like it. I'm just curious, like what was this about?
No, but because the thing at the beginning of Calligraphy Masters, I think it was a lot of contemporary stuff.
Yes.
Kind of oriented at that time it was called calligraphy, like something very informal and something really contemporary, and that is cool. But when I think about Calligraphy Masters, yeah, I think that we have talked about this before. When I think about Calligraphy Masters, I think about Edward Johnson, Rudolf Koch, Hermann Zapf, Bernard Schneider, and then instead of those guys, there was some graffiti writer with a parallel pen, and I was like, this is cool, but I wouldn't call that Calligraphy Master, and it was that. It was just the name of it.
I know. Like I guess there's like a lot of people had a issue with the name, but it's never been about like nobody calls like nobody of the crew considers ourselves as a masters. It's just like I've explained this in the podcast. It's a long story, but it leads to another question. Like, of course, all these names that you just mentioned, they are masters, and it took years, maybe special what is called not classes, but yeah, I don't know, something that they had to go through like a year or two to get to the point to be called a master. Like, what do you consider today a master? And do you consider yourself also a master?
I don't think so. I think that in the last years, the term master has been a bit devaluated. Like, hey, you do something kind of nice, you're a master on that. Well, I think that a master is something... it is a nice question. I am not sure how to answer it. But a master should be something quite solid in everything. I mean, that a master should be someone that... A calligraphy master should be someone that controls any aspect of calligraphy under a very, very solid point of view. and I have my weaknesses with calligraphy. For example, I do terrible copperplate, for example. So that could be my main weakness. Do I consider myself a master? Not now, but I think that when I hope that when I get a bit older, I can be called that. Yeah.
But so you say that you have to have knowledge and skills in everything about calligraphy to be a master. Like, for example, maybe
I was just improvising.
We just talk.
Yeah,
that's fair. I'm just curious. Maybe Herman Zaff or people like him, maybe they also had the weaknesses, but we consider them masters.
Probably, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, maybe.
This is just funny question that I like to ask in season 2 because I've asked even people from the crew and even John Stevens, Julian Waters, nobody wants to answer like what they consider as a master in our days.
Yeah, I don't know. These two guys, for example, John Stevens, Julian Waters, those are contemporary calligraphy masters, even though they are alive. Because Herman Zaff and Rudolf Koch and Edward Johnston, they are from the past, so we tend to idolize them. Well, it's not we tend to. Rudolf Koch is hands down the best calligraphy of history, and there is nothing you can say that makes me don't think that. But the time and the legacy they left, I think that gives them a patina that make us consider them masters. So people like Julian Waters or John Stevens that are alive, they must be very good for us to consider them masters. I don't know. I don't know if I'm making a mess or something, but
is there something that I haven't asked you, but you think it was nice to speak about, or something you want to talk about?
I think that in relationship to what you asked before about if I feel a calligrapher or a calligraphy artist, usually there are, for me, these are two different things.
Yes.
And I try to maintain it like that. When I got a commission, I try to get attached to the project. I guess that some people tries to have a style, a very specific style, and hey, do you want a logo? That's fine. So this is my style, and then you watch portfolios of people that have the same style.
Yeah.
Have a very specific style, and all the logos are kind of similar, which is very cool.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, which is kind of cool because it's easy to a logotype and to get the money, and I try to do the opposite. To do something different in every work. This is part of ego as well.
Okay.
Because it's like I try to make a challenge out of something that someone is paying me for doing it. And then I take it to my ground and try to make a challenge of it. But it always respects the work. The most important thing is that person that has asked me to do a logo or wherever gets the most appropriate thing. I think that this is what differences a professional of an artist. I'm not saying that an artist cannot be a professional, but I guess when you understand I guess you understand what I'm saying, is that it's not the same when you're working for others than when you work for yourself or for Instagram. When you work for others, you definitely have to set aside, under my point of view, your style, if you got one, or your particular interests, and you have to to do what you have been paid for.
Yeah, but
this is something that we have to think about.
Yeah, I like it very much. Like what you said. I wish there were more people that think this way, because of course we all need to make money, and of course it's the best thing to do, to make money out of what you love. But at the same time, yes, there are so many people that don't stand for what you say, and they just like, oh, like, just make something, don't care
Yeah,
if they're copying or anything, don't put their soul into it, if I can say it this way.
yeah. Sometimes they call and it's like, hey, I want a logotype like that, and they show me something I did like 8 years ago. It's like, yeah, of course I can do that, but it's a pain in the ass because probably I want to do something else now and try to do different stuff. But at the same time, they are asking me to do that, so they pay and they will get what they want.
Yeah. Wow. Is there something that you want to wish or to say to people which are listening now and maybe they're just in the beginning of their journey? Some advice or whatever that you can tell them?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about working a lot. It's all about daily practice. You know, with calligraphy, it needs some time to understand the basic stuff and some more time to get proficient. And you have to learn basically the structure of the letters and to learn how to use your tools and start with basic stuff. Because usually people wants to learn calligraphy and they start from with the most difficult stuff because it's what they see on social media, and that is so fucking cool, and I want to learn how to do that. And maybe you have to learn something more basic at the beginning. For example, about 4 months ago, I started to take drumming classes.
Okay.
Play drums. And I had never played drums. Never. And this is not something you can try to learn from the most difficult stuff, because basically you have 2 sticks and you don't know what to do with them. So you have to learn at a very, very, very slow pace, and it's kind of humbling. You know, once in a while I have the urge of learn to do something from scratch, something that I have never done. And now it's drums. And I have to learn how to do drums, how to play drums, Japanese fencing, cocktail making, whatever. I mean, very, very, how to develop my own photography film. Some stuff that you need some technique to do, and that you have to first learn the technique, because if not, it's not gonna work. And with calligraphy it's the same, you know. Learn to use your tools, learn basic scripts, and from then everything will go easier. If you have never done calligraphy and you try to do a copperplate and fracture, you're gonna hate calligraphy because you're not gonna get what you want. But you know, stay calm, practice simple scripts, and it will get to some point that it will work.
Yeah, great. And if you're one of those people, Ivan's book will be a great help for you. As I said, it will be linked in the description. And Ivan, as you just mentioned, you have this urge to learn new things from time to time. This just proves that you're not old, man. You're still very young, because for me, people who have the urge to learn new things and try different things, they are still young, because I guess you become old when you don't want to try and learn new things. And
and you, for example, with drums, you activate parts of your brain that you were not using, and that is quite interesting. And doing that at certain age, you know, when you're 20, for example, in about a month, we have a party because it's the end of the course, and I have to go to the stage and play a song. Okay, with 20 years old, I would have been terrorized of having to go to a stage and try to do something that I am not very good doing.
Yeah.
But right now, it's like if I fuck it up, I fuck it up. I mean, no one's gonna die, you know. It's gonna be fine. And my teacher and me will look at each other and we'll laugh at it, and nothing happens. So it's quite cool to be doing stuff at any time of your life. Yeah.
This is a cool point of view. I never thought about this way, but
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
Ivan,
I got nothing to prove at playing drums at that point. So yeah.
true. Well, Ivan, I want to thank you for being a guest on the podcast. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for inviting me, even though I was talking shit about the calligraphy master's name.
Dude, come on, man. Come
No,
on.
I didn't talk shit. That's
No, like you, I was just curious because they said, man, it was in Spanish. Like I never had a problem. I know back then people had an issue with the name, so it's nothing about this. So once again, seriously, thank you for being a guest. For me, it was a great pleasure to learn more about you and about your journey. As you
a pleasure. Yeah.
As you said, you're up for giving classes on Calligraphy Master, so we will keep in touch. And if you're interested, like before we talk, I actually was talking with Paul. He said to say hi to you, Paul Antonio.
Oh.
And we have another podcast with him. It's a different kind. It's not like this one. This is more about the journey of calligraphers and artists. And the other one is shorter, and it's usually only me and him talking, but we're starting soon season 2. So it will be great if you can join us for like 15-20 minutes to talk about some different things.
It will be a pleasure.
Awesome, man. Once again, thank you. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching. And as always, keep writing.